Welcome back everyone to the Hanseatic Dreamland and Planet Coaster 2. Today with the integration of update number 4, we are building a restaurant, we do some custom supporting, and we are also doing a couple of work here and there. You'll see that in today's episode. It's a very good one, I can't wait to share that with you. This restaurant really looked fine, and there's also a hint to how the big coaster will be evolving in the next episode. So a lot of things to talk you through, a lot of things I want to talk about regarding update number 4, but first of all, a little note from the sponsor of the channel. You know by now, hopefully, this is Instant Gaming. You can always find the link in my description or on my channel page. It is a provider of game keys. You can get them for a good value. They always have some very cool, giveaways and stuff as well, and some very good supports. You can find DLCs, full games, pre-orders, whatever you want. Check it out over there. You do help me directly, but also you help yourself directly because you do save up some money. And that being said, it's a good system. Just make sure to check it out in the link in the description below, and we are going to talk about today's video. Now, building the restaurant was a lot of fun, and yet it was a lot of struggle. There was a bit of an issue with the early access I had, but then finally it's been resolved in the full version today that you guys have as well. There was a bit of a gizmo issue I had with the path. I feel like I was the only one who had this. Maybe there was an issue in the settings. I don't really know. But, you know, at the end of the day, it worked out. It was a bit of a struggle this time around to build the path the way I wanted it to, because whenever I put down a path and I wanted to copy it from one position, it just always went into 45-degree rotation. Not really sure what exactly that was, but it did work out in the end. So, yeah, I'm building a restaurant by the river. I mean, actually, this is the sea, but as we are in the harbor, it's basically one of the canals here in the river, and that is one of the canals that isn't used by large cargo ships anymore. It's more or less just a smaller one where smaller ships can pass by. You know that we also have the coaster passing over the tipper coaster. It's also passing over the river where you basically don't have the space anymore to have a bigger cargo ship. So this is one of the abandoned harbor areas anyways, and so as it is the main feature of our series, it was just a lot of positive to put it here. Now, this area over here came with a bit of a struggle. Because I want to mention the thing. Also, realism-wise, the lowered area, the terrace down there, as you can see, where the stairs do lead down to, apparently has to withstand flooding a couple of times. So there will be certain things I'm going to do about this in the future. I have some ideas. I still need a bit of testing here and there to find the perfect adaptation to it. I wanted to put also some floaties below, but then I would have needed to detach the lower area from the stairs itself. But that's something I'm envisioning for the future, just for the sake of realism. I mean, you know, realistically, the water isn't changing because there is no kind of tide or whatever in in this system, which it would be fun to have it, but you know, at this point it's just imaginary, and I want to keep it this way. But then it comes to this little restaurant, and that was a fun challenge because this restaurant over here had to fulfill a couple of things. So first of all, it was or is the first actual restaurant in this park, but I wanted to intentionally not make it the biggest. Like, it should seem more like a little bit of a takeaway restaurant, which still provides you some good spaces to sit and really has a dedicated area allocated for it. That's the main difference. So it's not going to be like a little shop area where you just grab a snack and sit anywhere you want. No, it was meant to be dedicated. It should still go along with the basic style of the Hamburg Harbor area, so with a very industrial-looking brick building kind of style, you know. This one should be leaned more towards the older brick buildings, the brick kind of storage buildings that you will find across the Hamburg Harbor. And we're doing some more modern stuff in other areas of the park, but that was specifically meant for being one of those in yeah, you know, that goes in line with the style also of the buildings that you have across the canal, because on the other side there is this, how was it called again? I forgot which flat ride there is, but this one, the Coal Dipper, I think I called it, but it's definitely a different flat ride. I forgot the name, but you can definitely tell that this goes in line with the same architecture of the bigger building across the canal, and also with what is in the background. And that is the second biggest purpose of this building. It had to act like a bit of a view, eye-catching kind of element without being a weenie. So for those of you who don't know what is a weenie, except the fact that it's obviously something to cook and eat, but a weenie in theme park terms and language is an element that drags you naturally towards it, mostly done via being very big and very prone in the environment, just like a tower or a big top hat of a coaster. So our weenie in this area obviously is the lift hill of the coaster that we've built in the last episode. So this building over here is not the weenie as it stands in the terms of it, but it is definitely the eye catcher from the other side of the river and on the riverfront itself, or the canal front itself. So I wanted to really make sure this thing looks fairly nice and fairly enjoyable to go to. And again, I also think that this could have been a building that already existed in here, maybe for having a different purpose. Maybe that was just like a little shore kind of storage shelter in the past, next to the riverside, where people could have something stored in, or maybe that was like a smaller area just for having some smaller boats, equipment or so. Just like the idea that some of the buildings already existed in this place and then have been repurposed into something completely new, and in our case today, a restaurant. So that is the trivia of this building, and yeah, everything else about this building was then just finding the right details, trying to embed as many new things I've not done in the past so far, kind of trying a couple of double glass layers over here because I found this looks cool, until we can recolor the glass itself properly. We gotta have to work ourselves with using 2 or 3 glasses above each other to create a bit of a different layering. You saw me doing that with the gates and doors as well, using barriers and stuff in between to make sure that people navigate correctly in here. And I must mention that these barriers are a little bit OP. Like, I'm very happy that Frontier fixed that from the launch of the game, where the barriers basically had no meaning and basically didn't work, I should say. Now the barriers are crazy, because when you put down a barrier which is like a meter long, it just kind of spares out about 2 meters around its origin. So 1 meter barrier means 2 meter of block, which is crazy. So please use them carefully. I found it's very useful to rotate that by 90 degrees and have it a little bit upside down and then sunken into something. It reduces the amount of space, but you still have about a meter or even more, that you do have as a barrier. So you're gonna have to test around a little bit how you use the barriers to make the gas flow properly, which is a bit of a sad thing, because I wanted to use the barriers initially also to create some natural cues on the plazas, which technically works, but you have to make humongous spaces in order to make them navigate through that. And you can reduce the space a little bit when you build custom barriers and you do sink the actual barriers into the ground. That just kind of works, but yeah. As you may have seen, the staircase over here, or the stairs itself, were a tiny bit wobbly, so not perfectly straight, because I had these issues with aligning it properly, and this is why I covered it all up. To be honest, I think it looks even better when I covered those all up. Used a couple of details here and there, using some of, actually also some of the new Western pieces, or not new anymore, but like the Western pieces, in the right color, do give you a bit of a nice detailing element as well, which I do like. Some of the iron pieces are working super fine. Some of the wooden pieces colored into gray also act like weathered iron in a way. So really, really am liking. And we also do have now 2 different types of guiders. We've got the new guiders from Planet Coaster 2, but we also do have the classic ones from the Western set, which is in its texture a lot more weathered, which I do like a lot. So that was a good reason to use them here as like the lower end beneath the water, because technically that would be weathered. I also put some poles next to it, so in order, like, these poles are just there to ensure that if there's a boat next to it, it just doesn't completely crash into the railing directly, but there is like a little bit of a buffer in between. That's the sole reason. And I put down a couple of trees because I figured we are lacking a lot of greenery here. So yeah, I was trying my best to put some planters in. And yeah, realistically, that one planter you can see next to the staircase is a bit of an odd one. I think realistically it wouldn't work exactly like that, because of the roots of that tree wouldn't necessarily grow that way, but maybe it's sunken in a little, and it just kind of gets enough water apparently over here, maybe even too much water. So, whatever, it won't be flooded forever, but it definitely has enough water. And then I used my pieces that I used in the swimming pools areas as like towel stations, and used them for the sake of making sure that we have some areas to put back the trays. And I kind of had a hard time finding out pieces with which I can make a tray, and I ended up not doing a tray at all because it just couldn't find a suitable piece that just exactly gave me the option. There are so many tiny pieces in this game, but then again, none of these really work for what I wanted to do, and so I actually for the moment gave up. Maybe I'm gonna find some other tiny pieces that I can use. I mean, apparently I could have used one of the tiny iron beams. That would have worked easily. However, this look, I just tested that once, but it looked very ugly because like it's not one cohesive kind of space. As you can see, this one over here would have worked if it was a tiny bit more small, but it's not. So they're all too thick, and if you go for like a thinner version with like these metal beams you have, for example, you have to plop them all next to each other, and then you have all these ugly kind of intersections in the middle, which kind of doesn't look good. So yeah, I tested a couple of things. Like I tested these kind of decals over here because they're naturally super thin, but none of these things just kind of grew on me, and so I was like, okay, I need to have a break. So this, again, I left this in exactly in the order. Normally I would have switched up the order now, but I left it in to show you a bit of my process. This is another thing I wanted to talk about. Now, I'm struggling a lot at the moment because of two things. A, I've got way too many ideas, and B, I've got way too little time. This sounds logical, but hasn't been the case so often in the past years. Normally, I had a reasonable amount of ideas, and time-wise was okay, so I could structure myself very nicely. But now I have a tremendous amount of work to do in my actual life, you know, in the daytime normal job, kind of with the family, apparently spending enough time with the little ones and, you know, with my wife and enjoying the time just in general, and then still doing this channel. But equally, I've got so many ideas, and the way my brain works, sometimes if I'm working so detailed on an area like the restaurant, then I'm like, I need something else. And this is why then all of a sudden I went over to redoing some of the shapings here of the coaster and putting some flat rides in, because I always wanted to have some flat rides in. Initially, I talked about that in the last episode, the idea was to have the scissor in here, but you potentially have already seen it that the scissor is way too big for this area. Instead, I went for another way more compact flat ride that is going to sit in there in the middle, and it works very fine, as you'll see later on. Really drags a lot of people here. It's very, very popular ride. I didn't even think it was, but yeah. And then I did a bit of custom supporting. That was inevitable that this is going to happen. I talked about that in the last episode. I'm relatively happy with how it's looking so far. Like, what you see in today's episode is more a proof of concept than it is already the actual supporting. There will be, most of it will be standing, because the ones I did now, they are meant exactly like they were due. But I was drawing some inspiration from, again, these two rides, specifically the Schwur des Kernan in Hansapark and also Smiler, apparently from Elk Towers. Trying to draw some inspiration from these things, but then again also making it very custom. Trying to follow some static rules, I guess, but not too many. Like, I'm not an expert on that, but I will try to make it as realistic as possible, because I feel like the supporting can become part of the overall thing. And then what I also did is a little trick that you can also use if you want to, painting the supports in the same color as the backdrop is, then you can actually make it vanish a bit more. So what you've seen a little earlier is that I used the same kind of red that the brick building in between in the background has to the height of the house, and as soon as we're above the house, I painted that in white to blend in better with the sky. Now, you could obviously also go for a lighter blue also, if you feel like it. But we're in Hamburg, you know. I assume it's way more often than not cloudy. So I think white would work better than bluish. But yeah, that's that. And as you can see, I'm also just trying to make sure that the supports also work for different elements. This one over here, I'm fairly proud of, to be honest. This is going to be the support for this huge roll over here. But I'm going to use this support structure on some other roles too. Just making sure that we have a proper kind of overall structure, I should say. There are some beams missing in between that have the lateral G-forces. Now we have the verticals are kind of, supported over here, but the laterals are not. So I will still get some beams in that cover these, and just make sure that the horizontal forces are also covered, because like these beams as they stand right now aren't really secure because they don't have any support from the sides, you know. I will work on that. But again, they were just in here to give me a bit of an idea where we are going. And funnily enough, it wasn't even like, even though it seems like it's not necessary for the restaurant work, what we did, but it was apparently very necessary to get a better idea of how this coaster will look once it's done, including all of the different supports here and there. So actually, it wasn't even the most stupid thing to do, because I wanted to ensure that I have a good idea, a good feeling about how the coaster's skyline will look once the restaurant is also done. So it was helpful to create the backdrop already in order to understand what I can add to the restaurant, what type of views I have, what background elements can be done without blocking the view of the coaster too much, but then equally what kind of areas of the coaster I may actually want to even hide away. And then also, because of that feedback you gave me, I also changed a bit of the shaping. So yeah. That said, here you can see I'm going back to the restaurant then, and immediately what I'm starting to do over here is to integrate a little tower. Now this tower has many purposes. This could very well be something added later to the build, but maybe it was already existing beforehand as a chimney of some kind. Maybe that was a kind of a smithy building in a way, like where you have an oven in or whatever. I don't know. You can imagine whatever it is this bit, or like have an oil kind of transformer in there, whatever, and then you've got that one as a chimney. But what I did is I used some of the Western corrugated iron pieces or metal pieces, which I think look beautiful. But the tower equally acts like a staff area. So this is one of the ways for the staff to go from the lower end to the higher end of the area, because what I did with the staircase later on is I attached the staircase to the outside of the building, so people, they do actually go up there. We'll see that in the real-time part. People do actually move to the terrace on top of it, which is so cool. That kind of raised platform gives you also such a cool view of the coaster and the other side of the park. So just in general, a very nice look. And then I started to kind of embed all these areas. But back to the tower, it does act as a direct connection between the lower end of the park and of the restaurant and the higher end. And also, and this is one of the ideas I had, that the kitchen, like the actual kitchen, like we got this restaurant piece, which is very feasible because it's only 4 by 4 meters, but realistically, and this is something maybe the only little downside of this restaurant, while the one in Planet Zoo was way too big with its like 6 tiles of size, that was ridiculously big, but it still gave us the idea there's a proper kitchen where meals can be prepared. In here, the kitchen is maybe like a little snack bar, you know, you can even use that as like maybe a food truck or so, but the proper kitchen to serve as many people over here would then be in the basement. And exactly this is what I did. I did put the kitchen in where the basement, like below this building, would be sitting. And I find this is a good idea to have the kitchen over there. Like, you know, they don't have that much fresh air and light from the outside. Maybe I'm going to attach some windows to the side of the canal, but realistically you wouldn't, because of the structural area where you need to keep the water at bay, actually. So it doesn't make sense to have proper windows there, simply because it would be a structural element, or a problematic element, you know, where you would technically have issues anyways if there is water going above that level. And in general, it must be sealed fully off, and this is why the tower comes into play. This is the fully sealed off area. Like if every door is closed, no water will get in. And yeah, apparently at the end of the day, we also needed some plants to be put in here, making sure that everything looks nice. I tried to do a couple of different things here, trying to work my way through the different types of bushes and stuff, and I still feel like that most of the foliage in this game is pretty good, but after playing Planet Zoo a bit more lately, I can definitely say that we are lacking a lot of foliage. I don't know, like the palette you have in Planet Zoo is just so insanely great that you really feel like how much is missing when you play this game, despite the fact we have some very good ones, especially in comparison to Planko 1. The choice is good, but there can still be a lot more. There has to be a lot more. And what I wanted to do as well is I wanted to also create a wonderful enjoyable space next to the main build. I feel like the reason why I wanted to do this is because we don't really have any any real platforms where people can recreate and enjoy and have a good time. What we do have is a lot of blank space, but usually the blank space is something with a lot of traffic, a lot of people moving along that will be very crowded, very cramped. And I wanted to create some retreats where people can actually chill down and relax because again, it is an abandoned harbor area. So naturally it is just very sizable. It's very big, very open spaces. It's gonna get loud when a lot of people are in here. And so if you want to have a bit of space for yourself and maybe with your family, have some snacks, eat your stuff that you brought to the park, this would be one of these areas where you can go to. Putting a couple of plants in here, realistically they will grow a bit bigger, and then you can even go to some sun chairs, like lounge chairs over here, like these ones, just to chill down for not pool people, just making sure that this is available for everyone, not only those who've been to pools, which I still think we should be able to define where pool spaces are. Okay, but the last couple minutes where I'm just doing some detailing here and there, just like some minor things, I wanna use to first of all thank Frontier for giving me relatively early access again. Love that they're doing this because that gives me the chance with my limited time at the moment to do at least something. But also equally, we are moving so much into the right direction that I feel like now we can go into some nitty-gritty things, which is exactly what we need to do to make this game really, really good. Update 4 may seem a little more shallow than the last update, which I guess is mainly because of how much you can see, because obviously what you do see is that there is no free update content pack, like Western was big, new coaster and so on, that obviously is big. But then if you look into the details, this one was equally great. So many options that we have now, including the fact that we can now finally recolor the tiles of the pools. The water VFX of our river rapids and so on have been improved, which is great. We apparently have some very good standard coasters that we've all waited for and wished for. We've got restaurants as a brand new element to the game, to the game Planet Coaster. It has been a thing apparently in the past, but now we've got proper restaurants with an improved mechanism. I'm very happy, and I can't wait to see what's up next when they announce the next stuff for this game. So, well, that's been it from my side in the time-lapse, but we still have a real-time part to cover, and I can't wait to hand you over to the real-time Rudi, because we are going to have a look at this very beautiful restaurant. At least I think it's very beautiful, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode so far. Don't forget to like, blah, 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 you know the drill if you did. But now, let's hand you over to the real-time Rudi. Enjoy how it looks in game. Alright, so let's have a look at the real-time part, and as you can tell, there is the restaurant right in front of us. It took me actually a crazy amount of time until I was finally able to also, let me just correctly get rid of that one. So there you go. Until I was able to get people to the tables, simply because I had the Sandbox, as I said, turned on, and then no one actually was having hunger or thirst, so it took a while until they started doing it. But the cool bit is now, as they are down here, you can see they grabbed their food and they went here. I haven't seen anyone on top of that one, so I'm not sure if the pathing over here does work. I would still love to see if it works at some point, so if it's very full and the capacity is high, then we should see them actually being in here. Yeah, but like seriously, I love everything about this area, how it turned out so far. You've seen me doing a bit of a, kind of a lounge area here where people can just chill and have a little bit of a, a recreational area and just have a look at the other side. And I mean, there's just that building, but just for making like a little bit of a break, I'm gonna put some lockers somewhere over here. I thought about putting some lockers here. Just having that is super nice indeed, I guess. I also thought about connecting those two areas, that you can also go over and have your snack over here. But then I thought, it's not part of the restaurant, so it should stay where it is. But I like everything about this, like with the looks of it here with, the sunshades that we have. Then we have like a little bit of an entry door over here where I imagine the kitchen being down here. But then you also have two different entrances. You've got the first one over here that also has like a potential elevator even, or like a tiny stairs that, would easily fit like tiny stairs in here to go out to the top so that the staff can actually move around without interfering the guests too much. And yeah, just in general, I think it's a very beautiful build. We could also take that one and put another one up here if we just fancy doing so. But I think the problem is that that's going to be sticking a little bit too much through the build. Let me just check that, if it's gonna be there. Yeah, we have that thing stick through, but I could leave that open, just like having an open tray. Why not? And then we could also put like a trash bin in here. Like if we go like this, we could easily put like a trash bin. Where's the classic one? White. There you go. That's a bit. Oh, it's so awfully bright. Anyways, we can just make that like all black and so, and then have that in here, black and gray. What about making that one black too? Yeah, there you go. And then squeeze that in here. Any other one? Can I just? I can't. Okay. Well, let's leave the one to the one side. I think it's fine. So, that's being this. I'm not sure if the people will leave the table at some point on their own, or if they're just vanishing. I've not seen them go. Let's have a look what happens just before, you know, ending this episode. I'm just gonna see what happens if they've finished eating. Come on, get your meals done. Ah, yeah, okay, they just float around the area. Okay, so the tray then basically becomes rubbish, so to say. I want to see people who grab food. Oh, just missed them. I also wonder why the heck people, like, in all the bathing suits come over. Look, there we have someone. She's doing all the stuff. I'm just wondering, like, this is the one... Okay, there's the trace. The one thing I really am annoyed about is, like, where's the other staff? Like, we could easily have 2 or 3 staff members even here. I need to place a couple more barriers, by the way. The reason why... Oh, are you going upstairs? Hold on. Are you going upstairs? That would be wonderful. Look at that! It's working! It's working. I'm totally okay with the little glitching here. I'm totally fine with this. Look at that! They're just going upstairs. Oh my god, that is perfection. I'm not sure which table you're going to choose, but that's so cool. I love the fact that it's working. Look, they obviously go in here to have not that sunburn. I wonder also if they take that into account. And I mean, look at the view from over here. You've got the coaster in the back, you know. Look to the other side. You've got another coaster in the background. You've got the park in your front. I imagine sitting here, that would be so freaking cool. Yeah, but like this is my little restaurant, which took a lot of time to build, but I had this in mind for such a long time. And I just love where it's sitting. I love with this little terrace down here and just like, I don't know, everything about this is so cool. We will have some more restaurants. One will be sitting in the historic harbor area, and we are definitely going to have like another one filling in this spot, because there's our souvenir shop just in here, and then there will be another spot where we could put something. Then I do have to really make my mind about what is going on in this area of the park, because at the moment it's pretty empty, pretty boring. There's not really much happening there, so I definitely need to put some more love in. And then we're almost done with this area. Also, you've seen me starting a bit with custom supporting, as I've said already that I'm going to do this. So the next episode will definitely be focusing on making the coaster completely done, and with everything, like with the station building, with all the styling. This coaster will be massive. This will be one of my best coasters I've ever built, and I can't wait to show you the final result. I also tweaked a little bit about the first roll over here, so if we see the coaster go through, you will see that it doesn't have that crazy long hang time anymore. It goes through a nice little bit here, and then it goes all down, and it doesn't really feature a complete 180 like a complete over-the-top inversion anymore there, but there's a reason for that, so I gotta fix a couple of things. We have a bit of a more nicer area in terms of near misses. I also smoothed out and changed some of the shapes, which came in very handy in terms of making the coaster a lot more realistic. So overall, I'm very happy. I kind of fixed a couple of banking things just to let you know what I've done in the meantime. And yeah, I got to do some work also for the members, as promised in the last video. There will be something special for upcoming members of the channel who decide to become members. Will kind of find their spot in this coaster, or like around this coaster, I should say. But yeah, overall, I'm growing to love this park more and more, ever so much more. I think everything about this is becoming so cool, and people have been loving the first left-hand side of the park, which I still do. I love this too. Very, very nice indeed. But I also also am growing to love the right-hand side. It looked so boring with a huge slab of concrete at the beginning. And I admit it still has a bit of boredom baked into it, so I will change a couple of things to make this look a bit more interesting. I mean, these areas over here, they are a lot more interesting to look at now with the go-kart track, and you know, this one being mostly like a bit of an old harbor area anyways, and just like in general, it's starting to fill in a bit more nicer now. But yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I did creating it, because that was really a lot of fun. As I promised, I will release this into season 1 very soon. So basically what I will finish up before releasing it to the workshop is basically just that coaster, a couple of these little spots in between, and that's that, okay? 2-3 episodes max, and then this is going to be all yours, and you can do all kind of shenanigans with the project if you want to. So I'm going to leave this to you. Can't wait to do so. Can't wait to see what people say when they have finally hands on it. So yeah, let's talk about that when you have it, but also for now, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. This is the restaurant. Look, it's starting to have more and more guests coming in. Look, there are even more guests sitting upstairs now. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode as much as I did. And yeah, I talk to you in the next one. Oh, by the way, I forgot, but in case you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, or you saw that YouTube did actively unsubscribe you, please consider subscribing to the channel. That always helps to tell the algorithm, you know, you like the content and stuff like that. You know the drill. Who am I even talking to? You watch YouTube, you should know it. Just double check, click that button, everyone is happy, and I talk to you in the next one. Bye!